allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can we have the roll call, please?
Chairman Fraser.
He's excused.
Okay. Vice Chairman Stone.
Here.
Commissioner Kolarski. Here. Commissioner Kirk.
Here.
Commissioner Morley.
Here.
Commissioner Wynn.
Here.
Commissioner Tagliaferri.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. This part of the agenda is reserved for our first public comment period. Comments by the general public may be made at this time. No action will be taken upon any matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on future agenda or this agenda tonight. Do I have anybody in the audience wishing to speak or on WebEx under general comments by the public? Seeing none, we'll continue with the agenda. Jared?
All right, the next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda after any additions, amendments, or deletions. We have a request from the applicant for item number 14, VS 20-0189, to hold until the June 16th Planning Commission meeting. If there's no objection from the audience, the agenda stands ready for your approval.
May I have a motion?
Move to approve the agenda holding item 14.
Cast your vote. Post. That motion passes unanimously.
The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes, and there are no minutes to approve. Announcements. For the audience's information on tonight's agenda are final action unless appealed to the Board of County Commissioners or otherwise announced. All appeals must be filed in writing to the Comprehensive Planning Department by 5 p.m. Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. Those items appealed will be heard by the Board of County Commissioners on Wednesday, July 8th, 2020 at 9 a.m. in these chambers. This will be the only notice of appeals. To determine if an item has been appealed, please call the Comprehensive Planning Department at 702-455-4314 or check online at www.clarkcountynv.gov. Also, for the audience's information, most items on tonight's agenda are approved with time limits to complete, commence, and/or review. It is the applicant's responsibility to keep each application current. There will be no notification from the Comprehensive Planning Department for expiration or review dates for applications. The routine action items. The next items on the agenda are the routine action items consisting of items number 4 through 6, with the exception of items which have already been held or deleted. These items may be taken together in one motion and with one vote. For the audience's information, items that have been recommended for denial or with different conditions of approval by respective town boards are not automatically removed from the routine action agenda. If you are in the audience and opposed to any item on the routine action agenda, you must now come forward and request that the Planning Commission remove that item from the routine action agenda and hear that item in the order that it appears on tonight's agenda. In addition, we have the following amendments and comments. Item number 4, UC 20-0198, staff received 2 cards in opposition. Item number 5, UC 20-0203, staff received 1 card in opposition. And item number 6, WS 20-0194, staff received 4 cards in support. Any person who does not agree with the conditions recommended by staff or opposed to any item listed on the agenda should request that the item be removed from this portion of the agenda and heard separately when the public hearing has been opened. With no objection from the audience, the public hearing is now open and the routine action portion of the agenda stands ready for approval with staff conditions as listed.
Thank you, Mr. Tasco. For everyone in the audience and on WebEx, we are about to move on the routine action items with one vote, unless someone in the audience or on WebEx would like to remove and discuss items 4, 5, or 6 individually. Otherwise, I see no one in the audience. I'm ready for a motion on the routine action items.
Move to approve routine action items 4 through 6 with staff conditions.
Cast your vote. Post. That motion passes unanimously. Let's move on to the non-routine action items. Staff.
So the next items are items number 7, 8, and 9, which are related applications and can be heard together. So item number 7 SC 20-0191, street name change to change the name of Resorts World Drive to Genting Boulevard between Las Vegas Boulevard South and Sammy Davis Jr. Drive, generally located on the west side of Las Vegas Boulevard South and the east side of Sammy Davis Jr. Drive within Winchester. The background is provided in your agenda, and staff has recommended denial. Item number 8, SC 20-0192, street name change to name a private drive aisle Resorts World Avenue and assign addresses to designated porticocheres located on the private drive aisle, generally located on the west side of Las Vegas Boulevard South and the east side of Sammy Davis Jr. Drive within Winchester. The background is provided in your agenda, and staff has recommended denial. And finally, item number 9, SC 20-0193, street name change to name a private drive aisle Gong Tung Way and assign an address to a porticochere located on the private drive aisle, generally located on the east side of Sammy Davis Jr. Drive and the north side of Resorts World Drive within Winchester. The background is provided in your agenda, and staff has recommended denial.
Yes, so we'll open this application up for a public hearing. I'm sorry, where are we? Okay, go ahead, applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Greg Borgel, 300 South 4th Street, here in behalf of Resorts World on all three of these items, which I think we said we would hear together, that is 7, 8, and 9. I think it would help if we could get the engineer to portray the map I brought with me here at the dais. Thank you. This is a simple issue that somehow can be hard to explain, so let me try to do it straightforwardly. Here's Las Vegas Boulevard. Here's Sammy Davis Drive. Here is a private drive. We'll call it the North Drive for the moment. And this is a public street, at one time named Echelon Drive, when a different developer was planning to do it. When the new developer took over, Resorts World, it was renamed Resorts World. And at that time, it was believed that this would function as a major entry to the overall project. That has turned out not to be the case, at least at present. The project, which you have looked at, or the County Commission has looked at several times, is in fact on the north part of the property. And that consists of a number of towers and hotels that would be under separate operation, similar to what we see at the city center type operation. So the real activity is here. And for that reason, the developer feels and still believes strongly that having Resorts World named down here at the South Street is simply misleading. People coming out of town to go to Resorts World up here would inadvertently be directed to a street to nowhere. And therefore, the purpose here is to take the Resorts World name off of the South Street and put it on the North Street so that people going either direction on Las Vegas Boulevard looking for the Resorts World project would find a street that's called Resorts World. Having done that, of course, a new name is needed for the South Street, and the name that's proposed here is Genting Boulevard. Genting is the name of the master corporation. Additionally, there is an internal circulation pattern, purely private streets, which is proposed to be named Go Tong. Mr. Go Tong is the founder of the company and the creator of the gaming enterprises throughout Malaysia. So he's a prominent, well-known name, and he and his son, I gather the senior has passed away, but he and his son wanted the project named, the internal street alone, named after him for that reason. Having said all of that, and I think simplified it down to, we want to get the streets named so that people can find where they're going on the project, I would want the record to reflect that the street names in question have in fact been recommended by the Fire Communications Center of Clark County. It's a joint center operated by the city and the county, and the three names requested here have each been approved. Of course, Resorts World was approved already, but we're changing the location, but that has been approved as well. So although there's a staff comment of denial, which frankly is pretty routine on moving street names until we've heard from the fire department, and recognizing that the purpose of sorting out the street names is to facilitate emergency services, I would ask the record reflect that all 3 street names either already exist or have been separately approved, and staff has a copy of that in their records. The applicant accepts all of the if approved conditions suggested by staff on all 3 items. And I don't know if you care to hear them separately. We did introduce them all at once, and we're open to your questions on all 3.
Thank you very much. We'll open these applications up for a public hearing and see if we have any comments from staff as far as anyone. Are we still doing email? Do we have any comments? Okay, all right, so from staff, there's no comments by email, and we'll close the public hearing, and then I'll open it up to the commissioners.
Jared, can we take this all in one motion, or?
Sure.
And you've read all 3 of them in? Okay, so if there's no problem, I don't have an issue with it. It's all on private property. I think it makes more sense to have Resorts World to the north. So with that, I'm going to move to approve SC 20-0191, SC 20-0192, and SC 20-0193 with staff, if approved, conditions.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
And that's final action on all 3 items unless appealed. Item number 10 and 11 are companion items and can be heard together. Item number 10 is UC 20-0022, holdover use permit to allow a multiple family residential development. Waivers of development standards for the following: 1, to increase the allowed building height; 2, reduce setbacks; 3, eliminate landscaping adjacent to a freeway; 4, alternative driveway geometrics; and 5, non-standard improvements. Design review for a proposed multiple family residential development on 4 acres in an H1 zone, generally located on the north side of Ford Avenue and the east and west sides of Ensworth Street within Enterprise. The background is provided in your agenda. Staff has recommended denial, and we've received 3 cards in protest. For item number 11, VS 20-0023, holdover, vacate, and abandon easements of interest to Clark County located between Parvin Street and I-15 and between Ford Avenue and Wigwam Avenue within Enterprise. The background is provided in your agenda. Staff has recommended approval, and we've received 1 card in support and 3 cards in opposition.
Thank you. Name and address for the record. Tell us about your application.
Good evening, Liz Olson, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. If I can direct your attention to the overhead, if I may. Thank you. So this property is approximately 4 acres. We're located on the corner of Ford and Ensworth. We are zoned H1, and we back up to the I-15 just south of Wigwam. We are surrounded by R3 multifamily and 2 condominium projects to our north and to our south. As you can see on the zoning aerial that I have here, Ensworth alignment cuts through the center of our street. Because that frontage road is on the Master Streets and Highway Plan, we are not permitted by Public Works to request the vacation of that. Because of that, we have been forced to split our project into half. So our project is a design review for multifamily with a few waivers. As you can see, Ensworth is through the center here, and we have our parking garage on the west side of the street and the residential building to the east side of the street. Obviously, the main concern of this project from staff was safety. Working with staff, what we have done is we've shifted our building to the south a bit and included a large loading area to the top of the residential portion of the site. That will allow residents to park, unload groceries, large items without having to cross the street after they've parked into the garage here. My client did meet with Public Works several months back and proposed two options, either a pedestrian bridge over Ensworth or a crosswalk. It was said that they would rather have the crosswalk. It is not shown on here, so what I'd like to do is read in a condition for a proposed condition for you to consider, which reads, applicant to work with Public Works on appropriate location of potential crosswalk across Ensworth Street and appropriate crosswalk safety lighting. So hopefully that will be an additional safety precaution that we can take, working with Public Works to ensure there is some type of crosswalk along the property here. Additionally, we have worked with Public Works on our throat depth for our garage here. We have removed several of our parking spots at the entrance here and replaced it with striping. So Public Works has expressed that they are now okay with that waiver, so I'd just like to thank them for working with us on that. Otherwise, we hope that you are okay with the safety precautions that we put in place here. It's a tricky site with that street going in between, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll open this application up for a public hearing.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Morley?
Liz, can we get safety lighting at the crosswalk?
Yes, so on that proposed condition, it does include appropriate crosswalk safety lighting as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
Did we have any emails on this one? Okay, so at this time, we'll close the public hearing and we'll open up to commissioners. Commissioner Stone?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a question of Public Works staff. With regard to the conditions the applicant presented, does that preclude, include, or to be determined a potential pedestrian flasher, I guess, if that's the right word, or pedestrian actuated yellow, red? I don't know, I'm asking.
The condition that's read in leaves that option open,
Okay.
so that they can work with our traffic management division and see what option will
Would there
work.
be a like a pedestrian trip generation study or circulation study that would quantify and qualify the pedestrian trips? Is that typically normal in that? I know we're usually talking about traffic studies, but in this case it'd be pedestrians.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't know the answer to that.
I'm sure there is that would support it. Okay. That's all I have.
Commissioner Morley?
I'm prepared to make a motion.
I just have one comment, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so I got
before
a
that.
couple
Excuse
of
me.
comments. Commissioner Kirk first.
We talked during the briefing. I'd like to get some clarification. I think there was some discussion from staff about being opposed to a pedestrian bridge from the parking garage to the apartments. Why is that a bad idea? Is it just somebody didn't want to do it? Is it Public Works? Is it a department decision or just one person?
That came from meetings with the applicant and the director of our department, and the applicant asked what the preference would be, whether it would be a pedestrian bridge or a sky bridge, as they were calling it, or a narrower street section with a crosswalk. And the director, his preference is the narrower street section with the crosswalk.
Is there a policy so that we'll know in the future? I mean, is this a one-off kind of a decision, or is there a standard? So the next project that comes along, we can point to a document or a standard to say, no, this is why we don't want a pedestrian bridge? Because my understanding was that the applicant was okay with the pedestrian bridge, which to me would be a lot safer. But maybe there's some things with respect to Public Works that I'm not aware of. I mean, I'm just not sure. So you can enlighten me, that'd be great.
Right. So there are several issues. A pedestrian bridge would be essentially a non-standard improvement in our right-of-way, and as such, the applicant would have to post a cash bond for.
But that's doable. I mean, we do
Oh,
that, they're all over the place, right?
Well, private
Yeah.
pedestrian bridges are less common. Really, the ones that are out there are resort hotels. But for a small apartment project, I'm not aware of any type of pedestrian bridge that would go over our right of way. So that was one of the issues, is that they would have to enter into that agreement, post the cash bond that sits in an account for eternity, and if something were needed and we needed to remove that pedestrian bridge for any reason, we would use that cash bond to remove it. This was something that the developer worked with our director on, and the developer was happy to remove the pedestrian bridge and go with the narrower street section.
Okay, I'm okay with it. My question is, if the developer was okay with the cash bond, I mean, is it a safety issue? Is it just, hey, we don't want them over our right of way? We've got them all over the valley. I'm sure it would be maintained to the same standard that other private pedestrian bridges are maintained to. So I'm confused as to I don't understand the reasoning. That's my comment. I don't get it. And I think it would be safer project. Maybe more difficult to maintain. Who knows? But if the developer was willing to put up this enormous cash bond for eternity, why couldn't they build it? That's my question. So.
Okay, Commissioner Kolarski?
I just have one quick question, and I asked the applicant, but Jason, in looking at the overall aerial and seeing how Ensworth goes, why don't we just vacate? If it's a frontage road, you've got a frontage road that's not really going anywhere. So to me, to eliminate this safety factor, the best way to do it would be to vacate Ensworth. But you've got properties that you're going to have to cut into down south of here in order to have a frontage road, or you're going to be going somewhere else to get around, you know?
Right. So the frontage road is somewhat of a fluid design right now. In this area, we already have the right of way that's been dedicated for portions of the frontage road. We do have easements in place a little bit farther north and south of here. There are some areas where it's going to move off of the Ensworth alignment and perhaps, a couple hundred feet to the east, or a couple hundred feet to the, or not a couple hundred feet, but to the west, adjacent to I-15. Yes, we understand that there are going to be places where the county will have to go in and purchase right of way, and there.
So you're going to be bisecting or dissecting, whichever, properties that are already built, because if you go just a little bit further south, you've got an R3 down there, or an R4 or an R5, whatever the heck that development is.
Right.
It's already built. So you're going to cut through it?
So we do have some easements in there that would allow us to put the road through there. But yes, there are some areas where if we can't move the road to the I-15 frontage, which would be ideal, that we may have to put the road through some of those existing properties.
And the county's going to do that? That's a feasible thing for the county?
That is a long-range plan.
Okay, well, it makes no sense to me, but okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Wynn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So during the briefing, I was the one that mentioned about the bridge. I just think from a safety issue, I would rather have a bridge. The arguments that there are existing bridge structure in the county that are not used, and that definitely is to be considered. But I do think I'm just, I guess, looking at scenario when at nighttime, let's say I'm living there and I'm working and I'm tired, I'm going home and I drive in the garage and I walk across and, someone else could speed through and not see me, and that could be a disaster. Personally, I don't like it being cut that way where folks have to park and then walk across. I see that exists for, casino property on the street where the employees are being parked and then being either shuttled or walked into their building. But in this location here, that doesn't exist. So I really want to be on record, even though, might be the minority on this part, but I support the idea of a bridge over a crosswalk.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Morley?
Liz, would your client be okay with a pedestrian bridge?
So as
'Cause
Jason
I kind
mentioned,
of like the idea myself.
so as Jason mentioned, we did bring two separate plans in front of the director. The one with the pedestrian bridge had a wider road. I believe it was a 60-foot right-of-way. So this plan that's before you is a completely different plan. They did revise it to do the shorter width with the crosswalk. We understand we said that we also would like the bridge, but we were just following the director's direction on that.
So this is items 10, 11, and 12 together? 10 and 11. I'm going to make a motion to approve items 10 and 11 with the pedestrian bridge plan. So that's UC 20-0022, and what's the second one? UC number? For
It's
11?
VS 200023.
Make a motion to approve.
Can I ask a question before we vote? If we do his motion, does that mean that the design review has to be changed? Does the design get changed?
That'd be a staff question, not...
Well, that's what I'm asking. If we vote on this with the pedestrian bridge, does that change the design review? Because if I understood the applicant correctly, she said that they had a design review in, or they had a design in. The director said no, and so they came in with a new design. So that's what we're looking at, is the new design with the crosswalk, not the bridge.
So we routinely change the design all the time. I say let's vote.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're legal on that. That's the only thing I'm asking. And I'm just looking to staff and Rob.
Was there a separate design submitted with the bridge plan already? I mean, is it in our file? No. Okay. So do we know what the bridge is going to look like? Has staff seen it? Oh, you have one in the file? So just approve that plan then, if there's a plan in the file. With the bridge, right?
Yeah, I think it shows the 60.
And is there going to be a condition that they post a cash bond, like Jason was saying?
I don't know that you want to approve a plan in the file that plan may show a 60-foot right-of-way, and that's going to completely change their design. I think if you want to approve it and you want a pedestrian bridge, that's your motion. They're going to have to make it work with what they have, and we have a condition as far as the cash bond goes. That's already in here as a condition because they need to do that for a narrower right-of-way section. So I think your motion covers it, and if they can't make it work with the conditions and with the plan that they have, then we'll be back with a new design.
That's good for me.
Motion on the floor. That motion carries.
Thank you.
And that's final action unless appealed for both applications. The next item is item number 12, UC 20-0120, holdover use permit to allow agriculture livestock, small chickens, in conjunction with a single-family residence on 0.1 acres in an R1 zone, generally located on the west side of Twin Oaks Avenue, 100 feet south of Mountain Pine Drive within Sunrise Manor. The background is provided in your agenda. Staff has recommended denial, and Sunrise Manor has also recommended denial, and staff has received 4 cards in support And in protest, we have received 24 cards, 2 letters, and a petition with 20 signatures.
Is there an applicant? Okay. Applicant, or is there an applicant? Can you hear me?
I'm trying to be heard. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, sir. Tell us about your application.
Well, we had some additional letters of support from the adjacent neighbors. Were those received into the file? We also had a site visit from one of the commissioners to do an on-site inspection for what was, and I think basically I don't have a lot to add beyond the fact that we have just a few chickens, you know, in the backyard in a coop that is not an open coop. And we'd like to continue to have those fresh eggs available to us.
All right, thank you very much. So what we'll do is we will open this application up for a public hearing. It's okay, no emails. We do, I'm sorry. All right, so if there's someone on the WebEx and they would like to make a public comment, please do so now.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir, continue.
My name is Jaime Alvarez. I live directly behind the property in question, and I am against agricultural livestock in a residential area. I don't think it's ideal to have chickens in a residential area, especially when we don't have the space that areas that would allow animals to have farm animals allowed. I don't think it's the same. And when we purchased a home, it was specifically to be in a residential area and not anything else. Also, I think it's a health issue and a public safety, especially for our 3 children, as the food given to the chickens attracts pigeons, and the bird droppings of chickens and pigeons facilitate bacteria, which can lead to a lung infection called histoplasmosis. And the thing about that is that we have 3 children, and one of them has recently been diagnosed with leukemia, and he is very vulnerable with disease. And his oncologist, which is his blood specialist, specifically said that one of the few things he'll be allowed to do is swim in our pool once he leaves the hospital. And I have submitted photos that show that the droppings are excessive. I know that there's always pigeons, but this is beyond. And the pigeons were not there at the rate that they are since the chickens have been brought. And they have developed a pattern. Well, they will eat in their yard and then come and drink from my pool. And that's a huge problem, as I have come home to find dead birds and dead pigeons in my pool. And they will say that they build a chicken coop and that they don't let the chickens out, but that is not the case, as I have provided photos that show otherwise, and I have seen them, and so has my wife. So yes, they might have been in the coop when the visitor came, but that's not always the case where they're always in the coop. And also, they have claimed in the past that someone at this property has celiac disease, and that's why they need fresh eggs. But if you don't know what celiac disease is, it's basically summed up as a stomach issue, which is triggered by eating gluten. So this can be controlled by cutting out gluten and watching what they eat. It's not a requirement for them to have special fresh eggs. And if they did, then there is many places around within a 3-4 minute drive, like Walmart, neighborhood Walmart, and Albertsons. And then finally, I want to end by saying that if we're going to make a decision based on empathy and not actual signatures, which I have plenty of, and letters that were sent in, then empathize with a child who has cancer over someone who has a celiac disease that can be controlled by a restrictive diet. Because if I could pick my son having celiac disease or cancer, then I would definitely in a heartbeat pick celiac disease.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Anyone else? Okay. Right.
Is there any opportunity to comment on his comment?
Yes, sir. As soon as we close public hearing, then we'll let you comment.
Okay.
All right.
No problem. Thank you, sir.
No problem. So any other comments? Seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing. I'm going to open up to the commissioners for questions for the applicant. Commissioner Kirk?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is to the applicant. How many eggs will one of your chickens lay in a day?
I would say my wife is the person who would know more about that, but I think 1 egg a day is what they do. I mean, I don't
So-
know that much about chickens.
Okay, so 1 egg a day, 10 chickens, that's 10 eggs a day, that's 70 eggs a week.
No. We have six chickens, and not all of these chickens are very active laying eggs.
Wait, but your
So-
application is asking for 10.
Well, the application was based on the recommendation of the cost for the variance was $675, and to have 3 chickens for $675 seemed, we were advised to ask for 10. We won't have 10 chickens. We have 6 chickens now, and they are in the coop, all the time. They're never out of the coop. I don't know. I don't want to
Yeah, I understand.
change topics here. I want to answer your question.
So you will be allowed to have 10 chickens if we approve this application, okay?
Yeah, we will. Okay, we will never have 10 chickens. We want to make sure that there's a healthy
Understand,
space.
but your
Okay.
application will give you 10, okay, by right,
Okay.
if we approve
Okay.
this.
Okay.
My question to you is, how many eggs will a layer lay in a day?
I would say one egg.
Okay, so that's so if you have 6 chickens, that's 6 a day. 6 times 7, that's 42 eggs a week. That's 3.5 dozen.
Okay.
Right? That's a lot of eggs.
I'm not questioning your math.
Well, 6 times 7 is 42.
Yeah, some of these
42 eggs
these
a day.
are not
a week.
These are not all extra large eggs. I mean, some of these eggs are about the size of a $50. I mean, some of these eggs are very small. So, a 4 or 5 egg omelet is not a 4 or 5 egg omelet when you have a half small. This is below marketable size eggs.
Okay.
These are small eggs.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry to make that long-winded.
That's okay. All right, so did you want to respond to the young man's comments you requested? Applicant?
Yes, the fact that there was a problem with pigeons is, in fact, goes back to when we moved into the house. There were people in the neighborhood that were feeding the pigeons. They're no longer feeding the pigeons. We don't have any food that the pigeons can get to. We do not have pigeons in our backyard very often, numbering maybe 2 or 3 pigeons. There used to be hundreds. There are no longer hundreds. We've had the palm trees trimmed. There's no nesting for pigeons in the palm trees. We have a perfectly good pool. If the pigeons want to drink from our pool, we have a pond. They can drink from it. They never drink from the pond. They never drink from the pool, and they don't eat anything from the chickens because they can't get into the coop. And the chickens never out of the coop. And that is every day, anytime someone can come by and see it, that is exactly the case.
All right, thank you, sir. So we close public comments and we open it up to the commissioners. And I'll just give my 2 cents before Commissioner Kolarski takes over. I always try to find a win-win in each application. And quite honestly, if I wouldn't want the chickens next to me. Now, having said that, I mean, if we want to limit, I would be in support of limiting the applicant to maybe 3 chickens and having a review, but I'm not going to try to, sway anybody. I'm just giving my 2 cents until. So, Commissioner Stone, you want to make
Just
comments?
if
Go
I
ahead.
could, Vivian, I'm not the chicken expert, and you were going to let me know about the noise of the hens and roosters, and did you do a site visit?
I
think?
sure did.
Could I just hear your for me, simplified report as a non-chicken expert.
Well, let me tell you, prior to my going out, I called my stepdaughter. She raises chickens in Idaho. She gave me dimensions of how much space they need. She says that they're not normally loud except for when they're actually laying the eggs, at which time then they can get extremely loud.
I had no idea.
Yep. And she says that free roaming, which would mean they would be out of their coop, those eggs are much better than if they stay in the coop. So those were the three things that I was unaware of, but I said, okay. Is that a free range? Yep, the free range ones are better. So, but the 6 chickens were in the coop. What I found interesting, I saw one pigeon, because I was looking for them. I didn't see any birds. I have pigeons in my yard that come in and roost on my lawn chairs. Yeah, but there's nobody with chickens nearby, so any type of animal, dog, cat food, any type of, you leave food outside, you're going to attract birds and pigeons. It doesn't have to necessarily be chickens, okay? So I just want to get that out. The neighbor to the south asked me to tell the planning commission, because I spoke to her, that she loves those chickens and she wants to see them approved. In the petitions and the cards, the neighbor directly to the north opposes. You have a number of neighbors, and I've got it here on my little map, that oppose this, that are directly nearby. What I found interesting is that the property directly behind the applicants is about 10 feet lower. So he was on his roof when he was seeing the chickens over that were free roaming, and they were not in their coop. The pictures that he sent me and that staff has, they're not. Some of them were not in the coop. They were at that point in time. We can't regulate because we're not going to be going over every day to see if they got the chickens in the coop. Staff has denied this. They have said if we approve it, to limit it to no more than 3. She has 6 because there was someone else who was not able to keep the chickens and asked her to take them, so she took them. She says she's not going to replace them. They lay eggs for 2-3 years. After 2 years, even if you kill them, according to my stepdaughter, she says that the meat is real tough, so they're not good eating after 2 years either. But that being said, this is a residential area. We have a lot of the neighbors on this street, Twin Oaks, both sides of the street, down on Forest Park, which is south, Mountain Pine, which is north, Green Acres, which is to the west, both sides of the street, that firmly oppose this. And so I am not able at this time to give my support on this, much as I empathize and would love to be able to. I just can't do it. So my motion is going to be to deny UC-20-0120.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Motion carries. Good luck.
And that's final action unless appealed. The next item, 13, UC 20-0125. Holdover use permits for the following. 1, allow an accessory structure not architecturally compatible with the principal building. And 2, allow alternative design standards for an accessory structure. Waivers of development standards for the following. 1, reduce side street setback. And 2, allow alternative driveway geometrics on a half acre in an RE RMP1 zone. Generally located on the west side of Tenaya Way, approximately 200 feet south of Darby Avenue within Spring Valley. The background is provided in your agenda. Staff has recommended denial, as well as the Spring Valley Town Advisory Board. And staff has received 1 card and a petition with 8 signatures in support. And we received 12 cards and 4 letters in opposition.
Thank you. Name and address for the record. Tell us about your application.
Hi, I'm Bob Takeash, 3245 South Tenaya Way. At our last meeting, we continued to this June 2nd meeting because the board wanted to see some of the exhibits that I had in the neighborhood. For one, I have petition signed from every neighbor on my cul-de-sac, every affected neighbor that sees this building. So I have that. And you wanted to see some pictures of the finished building that I proposed to build. That is very close to what it's going to look like. And let's see, what else do you want? These are pictures of structures already exist in my neighborhood section 10. I have more, but these are the pretty much main ones. The building on the far right is directly viewable from Desert Inn. The one in the center is on Pioneer, and the one on the far right is on Rolling Meadows, only maybe 3 blocks west of me. So all these buildings exist, and there's more pictures also, but these are the main ones that I would like you to see. But this is where our meeting left off last time. I didn't have these exhibits to present to you because we were doing it over the internet, and I'm not the internet savvy guy. So anyway, this is what I have for you this week. So I hope you consider my application with seeing all the photos and the petition that's signed by every affected person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll open this application up for a public hearing. Do we have any emails? No one on WebEx? Okay, so we'll close the public hearing and we'll open it up to the commissioners. Commissioner Kirk?
Do you have a, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you have a plot plan, a site plan with you?
That was presented at the last.
You should have it on file, I believe.
It's on file.
Yeah, we'll get staff to pull it out.
It was all brought up at the last meeting.
I just needed to refresh my memory, so we'll take a look at it in just a second. And you were, based on the staff report, you were maintaining 10 feet from the property line. Is that right?
Yeah.
Your setback?
10 feet from the property line.
Okay, move these. Okay. I know. This is the proposed garage.
Right.
10 foot from, we'll just call it Main Tenaya, because this street here is also Tenaya. I'll call that private Tenaya, just so that we can determine what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's 4 feet from private Tenaya, and I used to have a block wall there at 1.5 feet from the property line. My property line is actually the center of the street. But Main Tenaya, it will be 10 foot back from the curb.
And there's no sidewalk?
There's no sidewalk. There's no sidewalks in the whole section 10 area.
Okay, I can see it. Thank you.
Is there something else that I can show you that you have a question about?
We're fine. We're fine. Okay, Commissioner Nguyen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Takash, it was me that requests for this to be held because this is in my district.
Okay.
So I actually drove by your house earlier this morning and looked at what is being built, and I have to say I don't like it.
Well, they don't like it right now because it's a skeleton sitting there. if you see this picture here, this is a
And sir, if
very,
you let me finish,
pardon me?
if you let me finish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. So the challenge that I see right now is that it does not look anything like anything that's around there. So and I think last time 2 weeks ago you disclosed to us that you are a general contractor, right?
Yes.
So are there other options that you can make it look compatible with the existing housing structure?
Not at this point. Everything is purchased for the building, and it's going to be insulated so that there's no sound coming out. My question is, these other buildings that are very close to my property, why are these here? If I can't have a...
Well, they're not sitting next to a curb. And again, I just want to remind you that each of these things are on a case-by-case basis. Applicants in the past has come and said, oh, well, everybody else around me can, why can't I, right? I'm here to look at things case-by-case basis. And I also look at town board recommendation as well as staff recommendations. And I do want to support you be able to store your, RV there or your boat there. I saw the boat, very nice boat. So of course you want to keep it protected.
I would like to protect it from the sun, yes.
Yes, and yes, we live in the desert. We all know that it's a very hard sun. So I completely agree with you there. But I just have a really hard time with that structure being very, very metal looking. It's just a obscene sight to see when you drive down Tenaya, and it's a very large structure that it could be a distraction. If it blend in with the architecture there, then it makes sense. I drove around, the cul-de-sac, and I drove around the neighborhoods. It doesn't belong there in that current format right now. So because you are a GC, I'm just asking to see if there are alternatives for you to build it to be similar to the architecture of your house. Because if it's submitted as is, I'm sorry, I would not be able to support it as is.
All of my neighbors that are affected are in compliance with me on this, and I don't see this building as being an eyesore whatsoever. And the colors will match my house. And what you've seen today, it is only 5 foot off of Main Tenaya, which I already told the board I would move it back 10 feet as the recommendations that they're going by. So it will be moved 5 foot to the west from what you've seen today. It's 5 foot. I'm going to move it back total of 10 foot. But the other side has to remain because of the, I can't think of the name of the word, my egress between my house and the garage of 6 feet. I can't move it closer to the house because I wouldn't have any egress for that side of my house. But the neighbors are very excited to get this thing done and not look at what you've seen today, this skeleton structure that has been sitting there because of the coronavirus also for longer than it should have been. I mean, I will make it look the best as I can because I'm very self-conscious about how my house looks, and I'm not going to put something that ruins my property value or my neighbor's property value on my property. I mean, all these other properties, this one on Rolling Meadows is a total eyesore as far as I'm concerned. That's that one that you can plainly see from Desert Inn. I understand that that's a separate case, but my building looks 10 times better than that building. This building compared to that building, it's not even on the same page.
Okay. All right. So, Commissioner Nguyen, any more comments?
I just want to, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to ask staff this question. What's on the video right now, is that architecturally compatible? What the applicant is saying? The example that he's showing what the finished product will look like?
This picture here is what you're speaking of?
No, it would not be architecturally compatible with the
sorry.
house.
Right. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. Even though it's a very nice product, it still does not look just the way that it's so close to the curve and the way that street is built. It's a very small street going down to Naya, and so I just want to see something more compatible. And I understand that you showed us some bad example. This is our chance to do it the right way. So if there is a way for you to change the structure and be able to do a accessory structure that is compatible with what you have in your house, then I would completely support it. But as is right now with this particular structure, it's something that I can't. I don't know how the rest of the commissioner feels, but that's where I stand right now.
Okay, Commissioner Kolarski?
No, I just wanted to make sure, based on what he said, that waiver number 1 is he withdrawing it? Is that the one that he would need, if he's going to do it 10 feet? Would he need to withdraw that one?
No, it's not included in the application. So this already reflects him potentially
Okay.
moving it back 10 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Morley?
Sir, would you be willing to fur it out to stucco it?
That would probably change the engineering. It's already engineered for the way that it was intended to be built. If I would add concrete/stucco to it, it would require further engineering, I'm sure.
I just, I would feel bad voting against this because you've come a long way, you're willing to move the structure. I know in these RNPs, they're because I have a lot in my area too. I don't think it's an ugly structure, but I haven't driven by it to see it.
It is now.
Well, as the way the commissioner did for his area, I would feel really bad voting against this because you've come so far and you're willing to move it. It's a steel structure. I don't know how much engineering you would have to do to change it to stucco. Those beams are usually pretty. Those structural beams are going to be stronger than stick frame. All I can say is that, Commissioner, I know where you're going, but I know how far along he is and the money he's already spent out of pocket. So I can't get there, but I do respect your opinion.
All right, Commissioner Hurt?
Just one more comment. Mr. Chairman, thank you. That was exactly where I was going with Commissioner Morley was if there is some way that you can make it look more residential, I think it would go a long way for me. Now, the fact that other people have put, buildings up that either haven't been approved or whatever, that's why we've got what we've got. That's why it's such a hodgepodge, because people just do whatever the heck they want.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say, well, just like you started, heck, I'm just going to build it. And then you get held up and you're like, wait, now I need to go get permission. And that's the problem. People don't know that they need to come and get permission to build something. So our position here, I think, is if you can meet us halfway. I mean, you've kind of started without us. You just went, hey, I'm going to build this thing. And then now you've said, okay, I'm going to push it back. And if you can add something to it to make it more residential in appearance. I'm not saying put the tile roof on. That's what I would prefer, but not saying that. But if you could at least stucco it so it doesn't look like a metal building, I think that would go a long way in helping me come off the middle and give you an approval. If you can't, then it's not architecturally compatible with the neighborhood. It isn't. By anybody's standards, it's not architecturally compatible with the neighborhood.
I agree.
With the stucco and the tile roofs that you have in your neighborhood. So what we're trying to do is let's make something that is compatible architecturally so that when you move out and when all of your neighbors who have approved this, when they're all gone, another 20 years, 30 years, whatever, there's still something left that looks compatible with what's there in the neighborhood. That's where we are. So that's where
So
I'm
pretty-
at. So if there's something you can do, if you'll, I don't know, work with staff or work with your engineering company to say, hey, I want to put a architectural facade on the front of this building. You can't tell me that can't be done.
Oh, no, it can be done.
Okay, then.
One question.
That's what I would suggest. That's what I would strongly suggest that you do.
Okay, one question. If, I'm definitely willing to meet you guys halfway. Would I have to do the sides that do not face the street? If I put stucco on the street facing sides, would you be happy with that?
Well, that's, I mean, I think the side that faces Tenaya, I think for my, I mean, that's something.
I will make it happen. I will, if you guys are willing to approve this, I will definitely make it happen. And I would like to go forward with this, and my neighbors would also like to see me go forward with this.
Okay, all right, so we got a lot of lights on. Let's start with Commissioner Stone.
I won't support the application as is. I would support it if it had four-sided architecture with metal lath foam. I'm going to defer to Ed. You might have a better description of it. But metal lath foam with the stucco, thin coat stucco would give that effect. That'll be minimal in terms of weight. I doubt it would require any kind of engineering. That's what I want, four-sided architecture, stucco-like appearance, which can be achieved using, I'm suggesting this is one option of many, but sort of a foam metal lath, thin coat stucco, giving that appearance.
Sure.
That's what I would support, something like that. I would defer to my chairman with maybe an opinion on that.
Yeah, he could do a one-coat system and not a three-coat system. So,
Okay,
Commissioner Kolarski.
would you explain
Could we
that
go?
in layman's terms? So for those of us that are not,
So in layman's term, a one-coat system is lighter than a three-coat system.
but I don't know what a one-coat system or even a
It'll look
three-coat
the
system
same. It'll
is.
look just like stucco.
Look the same as? Okay.
Can we do one side as
Hold
Mr.
on.
Kirk suggested?
Hold on, sir. Commissioner Kolarski?
Okay. That being said, now I'm really confused because I'm one of those that can support this, as you showed in that finished picture with, even though it was metal, with the brown, the light tone brown, and
Right?
and the dark tone brown. We're in a rural, in an RNP, and for me, the RNP has always been a little bit different. You get sheds that may not be as big as this, but you're going to get them in your backyards, and none of them are going to be architecturally compatible to the building. Right now, he may have asphalt or stucco, and maybe down the road they may want to change it and start adding wood planks or change the exterior. And now this building that we made him put stucco on is not going to be architecturally compatible. We've done that with the painting. You know, you paint it to match the home, but 10 years down the road, you decide you don't like the blue that you thought was great 10 years ago, and you paint it brown, and now your shed is blue to match the house. So this is where I have a little bit of problems with the architecturally compatible. I think if you're close, if you don't detract, this skeleton is very, it's ugly. And I agree with you, that should not stand as it is. But I think that, in my mind anyway, especially in the RNPs, that I treat that just a little bit different. So I could support the application as it stands right now, okay?
Thank you.
And that's just my stand. I've been like that for a long time now, and I don't see any need for me to deviate.
Thank you. Commissioner Tyler Ferry?
I don't think that Section 10 is actually an RMP. I mean, I know what it is, but it's not really. I mean, I live in an RMP, you know, there's chickens everywhere. So it's there you go. So it's a little bit different. And this building, I don't see how it's going to look like this building. I mean, I think that's just a, you know, a wish there. It's going to be a huge building right on the street. That's what it's going to be. And that I've seen those buildings and they're not attractive and they don't fit in neighborhoods. And I mean, I understand you've put a lot of time and effort into this thing, but it's just not, I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan. But if you all can figure something out, then, you know, but.
Okay, all right, thank you. So.
Can I speak one more time, please?
Sure, I'll recognize you. Go ahead. What you
Thank
got?
you. On behalf of what Donna said, I totally agree with some of the structures she's talking about, which is basically these ones that I think they're horrible looking. And I went and spent more money and bought the prettiest steel building that I could find, because I'm really not a fan of a wooden structure here in the desert. They burn down in 5 minutes. And with it being not part of my house, not connected, I just felt this was the way to go. And I spent a lot of extra money to have it look like this, although she thinks that it will not look like this when it's finished. Like this is some kind of a dream of mine. It is not. This is how it will look. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, all right, so it sounds like there are a lot of differing opinions on the board for this one. It is Commissioner Wynn's area, and he will make the motion. And I'm just going to say, it sounds to me like a motion for architecturally compatible, all four sides might get you to the finish line. But I'm going to let him make the motion, and we'll see where it goes.
And I just thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just want to again meet halfway, because that's my thing here is that every application that comes through in the district, we want to make sure that we are following codes at the same time, meet halfway with some of the neighbors, because outside of you, they have to look at it too, right? And even though you have your 8 folks that support, you have also a bunch of opposition. So your time to talk is done, actually. So what we want it to be is not rewarding bad behavior. And I'm not saying that I'm okay with you building it and say, oh, just kidding, now I got caught, I'm going to go ask for permission, right? That's not okay, especially with you being a general contractor. You know that those things need to be, you know, submitted before you can build such a large structure like that, right? So that we can avoid things like what you've shown us, the things that you don't want to see, right? Because we want to make sure that there is some check and balance somewhere. So I'm going to motion to approve your item with condition that it has to be architecturally compatible, using the suggestions that was done by other commissioners. That would be, I'm not sure if that's, I'm in the same boat here, I need to do a, I need help.
Yeah, let me try to help. So we're not asking for a tile roof, but we're asking for stucco finish on the sides. I think that's as simple as I can make it.
Can we do street sides and not?
All 4 sides. So then the other thing I would say is, I want to state for the record, I appreciate you getting signatures from all of your neighbors. That means that, I mean, it goes up, you don't know how many times we come out here and people are not even thinking about their neighbors. So we appreciate you actually taking the time to go ask them, hey, is this going to be okay? You know, and so I want to say I appreciate that, and I appreciate the commissioner, you know, trying to make it a win-win. And there's a motion on the floor. Yes, sir.
Commissioner, I have a question. Is use permit 1 and 2A still required? I mean, are you going to deny those? Because 1 is for allow an accessory structure, detached garage, not architecturally compatible. I guess my question is, does the motion with that condition make the accessory structure architecture compatible. And then the second one, I don't think that should be approved, right? Allow non-matching vertical medical siding when stucco siding is required, because you're going to require stucco siding, correct?
So it sounds like we are altering the use permit with our motion, correct?
Right.
And we're saying that we're allowing this to be not architecturally compatible, but we have a condition of the sides being stucco to match.
So I don't know if it makes it completely architecture compatible, so they still need a use permit. I'm kind of asking staff, number one, and number two is on use permit 2A, I think that should be denied, because you are requiring stucco. So my question is kind of going to staff, so.
Thank you. Staff, help us.
I would recommend leaving number one, I think there's different terms of architectural compatibility, but since you have 2B on there to allow the metal roof, it should be okay, I think, but if you deny 2A, that's probably a good point.
Yeah.
I believe Commissioner Wins is nodding in agreement that we'll amend the motion to deny 2A, allow 2B. Motion on the floor. That motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's final action unless appealed. The next item item number 14 was held, so that brings us to item 15. NZC 20-0188, a zone change to reclassify a half acre from RE zone to C1 zone. Waivers of development standards for the following: 1, reduce street landscaping width; 2, reduce parking lot landscaping; 3, reduce setback for a trash enclosure; 4, allow parking spaces to be located immediately adjacent to a building; 5, reduce access gate setback; 6, allow commercial access to a local street; 7, permit existing residential pan driveways; 8, allow modified street standards; 9, allow modified driveway design standards; 10, reduce the separation from a driveway to a street; and 11, waive full offsite improvements. Design review to convert an existing single-family residence to an office building on a half acre, generally located on the west side of Gerheim Street and the north side of Cheyenne Avenue within Lone Mountain. The background is provided in your agenda. Staff has recommended denial, and we received 2 cards in support and 5 cards and 1 letter in opposition.
Thank you. Name and address for the record. Tell us about your application.
Nathan Schweigert, 6640 Cheyenne. Chairman, Commissioners, I purchased this building last year, and you can see over the overhead projector, I bought a dump. The guy was scrapping cars in the back, there was cars in the front. There was about 500 radiators that had to get rid of, radiator fluid all over the place. It's just been seeping into the ground. We had to go ahead and have that remediated. Upon them moving out and starting the process with staff, and like I said, I'm not looking to start a tug of war here, but I'm very surprised that staff has denied this. I have redrawn these plans with staff 5 times. I mean, every time we've gone back, they wanted something on Gerheim. They wanted the NDOT to go ahead and see if the driveways were wide enough. So, I mean, we've drawn and drawn and drawn to try to go ahead and really make this work for everybody. Basically, I don't think I'm asking for anything special. All of the properties, with the exception of a couple there from Rainbow to Torrey Pines, they're all commercial. That block there is Terrible Herbst, the building I own at 6640, and then this building. And I am an unlimited AB general contractor, and I will tell you that I've never seen a property that actually splits in between 2 houses. Like typically it's a street and stuff. This just happens to be a very weird situation where the property line is between 6640 and 6620, Las Vegas in the county. At the time I bought that, I'll be honest with you, I did not know. I'm happy to answer all of the questions if we want to, one by one, but the setback and, I mean, the landscaping We're doing intense landscaping in the back and matching what we did next door and then some. The driveways, actually trying to widen the driveways is a safety hazard. Being that I own the building next door, we've actually had one accident already severe. So what we've done is we've done one way in and one way out. We don't allow any employees or tenants or whatever to make a left onto Cheyenne. You can't. It's like a bad game of chicken, okay? So everybody makes a right. We went ahead and met with staff and said, look, we'll do a one-way in, a one-way out, so everybody makes a right turn. That is, no matter whether this stays a house, a business, it's the best plan. The gate on the side of Gerheim, that would be an employee-only gate. There would be no public parking. So, an electric gate, closing that side, that's in favor of the neighbors. That way there's no public use going behind the back of the house. Staff's other problem is that you guys don't have sanitation or sewer. We've already gone and contacted with Las Vegas. There's an Coral, whatever, I can't even say the name, I'm sorry, but there's an agreement we can go ahead and do to tie on to the city of Las Vegas. That hasn't been a problem. We've already got the paperwork to do that depending on what happens here. I know that people try to pass stuff on you all the time. This thing is an eyesore since it's been sitting with all the staff's changes and changes and changes. They have broken out every window. They've stripped every bit of copper. They've stolen the air conditioner. I mean, and everybody now would like to see it move. The neighbors are like, why is it just now vacant, bare, and there's dirt? Because we removed all of the dead trees and heaving the concrete. Well, it's sitting because we can't move any forward. I don't have a landscape design. I'm not one of those people that actually build first and then ask for forgiveness second. So I'm literally would love to answer anybody's questions, but I'm not pulling a fast one on anybody. It's an appropriate use. It would be beautiful. I don't know if anybody has actually driven by and taken a look at 6640, the building I also own next door. It's Terrible Herbs. It's a gorgeous building. We replaced all residential windows with commercial windows. We put in a commercial storefront. We did all the ADA. We did the parking. We did the handicap parking. I spent about $600,000 next door. This building here, I purchased for $350,000, the records would show, and we're looking at about another $300,000 to make it commercial compliant with ADA and everything else. But if we can't come to an agreement, I'm fine with that. I'm not going to oppose. I will go ahead and slap it back together and make sure it meets whatever title requirements. And it can rent as a house. I don't really care. So when I bought this, I would have never guessed that I would have been standing here before you today with staff denial. And that's just the truth.
All right, thank you very much. We'll open this application up for a public hearing. Anyone on WebEx or email? All right, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. I'll open up to commissioners. Commissioner Kowarski.
I just have one question because I went on Google Earth and did a quick look. On Gerheim, I saw what appeared to be 2 driveways.
There is a gate, and it looks like there's an access gate for the septic system, which would actually be removed and tie into City of Las Vegas sewer.
Okay, one of them was like a wrought iron gate, and then the other one had like letters on it, like a medallion type.
Yeah, it was a residential thing. I think it was the initials of the previous owner.
Okay, so
on the
is
gate.
that also a gate?
Correct, but if on the drawings, the floor plan, I can show you, I'm sorry. So we would remove the septic tank, which would be right here, and we would install this new gate.
Okay, where's Gerheim?
This is Gerheim.
Okay, so you have that back gate that's over by the septic tank.
Correct.
And then you have the wrought iron, look like a rolling gate that's closer to the corner.
Yep.
And that's the one you're going to keep.
All of that's all down, actually. Staff has said that we can't have any of the CMU block wall in the front, so actually this plan shows all of that being removed with beautiful landscaping, a new rolling electric gate in the back for employees only. So what you've seen would not stay, it would all be removed and replaced.
So all of that's going to be removed?
Yes.
Okay, well, I can tell you, the only thing that I would like to see on this, and just me personally, is that you're asking for a waiver of the infrastructure, the curb, sidewalk, I would at least like to see a gutter, so that somewhat matches what you have across to the, on the other side of Gerheim.
Vivian, that's all existing, actually.
What?
What they're saying is they want the driveways wider. So they want me to tear up what's existing and make the driveway wider. What we're saying, and their concern was line of sight and safety, when what I'm telling you, and I'd be happy to take anybody
Okay,
out.
but I'm telling you that on the waiver, it says to waive off-site improvements, curb, gutter.
Because
You
it-
do not have curb, gutter between those two gates.
Oh, I'm sorry, you mean on Gerheim?
Yes, we're
There-
talking
there-
Gerheim.
There will be curb, gutter, and sidewalk, everything.
Okay, so that's my concern, is that I would like to see that at
Absolutely.
least on Gerheim, to have it go back at least the length of your property to match what's across the street.
100%.
Okay. That's all I had.
Okay.
The applicant could withdraw waiver development standards number 11 then, if that's the case.
Okay. Commissioner Tagliaferri?
Okay, so you are going, could you put the other pictures back up? Okay, so first, 10 waivers. It's kind of a record.
Sorry.
Okay, so all of this is going to be changed. Everything's going to be torn out, everything's going to be cleaned up, everything's going to be pruned and put together. And you're going to put what kind of business in here?
Just a glass company, a service business. So,
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
no
that's fine.
manufacturing.
I'm sorry, I didn't need a
Sorry.
specific. Okay, so how many employees come back and forth?
There's 4 service trucks, and then there's 3 people in the office.
Okay, do you have a place for this? Where are you going to put the service trucks?
The service trucks are in the back. That's the reason for the electric rolling gate.
So,
Okay.
so if you could put your site plan, if it's not back up, and then,
Yeah,
and then
put
show
the
us.
site plan back up. Okay, right there. All right, so they're out of sight also. Okay. All right. How much do you have to change on the inside of the house?
Pretty much everything to go ahead and make it all ADA compliant. Not only that, houses have old Romax and they don't have internet and stuff like that. So next door, what we did was we actually changed everything from the service. So we're talking about, especially with the septic tank, so new air conditioners, new mechanical, new electrical, plumbing, everything up to current code. Now that they've broken out all of the windows, we would go ahead and it's a glass company, we'll do storefront windows, a storefront door, and make it look like the other commercial business, like the beauty place next door, what we've done, or what the Herbs have for as far as glass and doors.
Okay, so I understand that you had a neighborhood meeting and 2 people came?
Correct. Their concern is the same concern with Gerheim. I believe after that meeting, and we explained the electric gate and making that to where no public. They didn't want public entering Gerheim, period. They wanted no public traffic on Gerheim, and we explained there would not be. Nobody really goes to a glass, they call, we go do the service, and then they send a bill. There's
Right.
really no showroom or nothing.
Okay. So you just have the 4 employees, so their cars or trucks will be there, and you have 4 service trucks.
Correct. So the service guys would come in, park their personal vehicle in the back, get their work truck, leave. So the front would be left open for
Okay.
customers, I guess, if they showed up.
All right, so I guess my basic concern, and I think you answered it, you're going to clean the entire thing up.
Correct. The place is pretty well gutted now, ma'am. Is nothing really left to it. We're just really waiting for approval.
Well, it's a complete eyesore.
Well,
that's-
it's not. Well, now it's just bare. It was. Those pictures are horrifying. It doesn't look like that now. It's just bare.
Okay, all right, so,
There's no trees. There's no grass. I mean, it's literally just concrete driveway and dirt. It's been that
Okay.
way for a few months.
and you didn't, I noticed you didn't ask for any signage.
No.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kirk?
I think what you've proposed is a exponential improvement over what's there. Normally, when I see something with this many waivers, I'm like, wait. But now that you've explained it, I see the property next door, 6 foot, landscape in the front, and the other things. I have no problem with this. I can't imagine anything that would improve the neighborhood more than what you're planning on doing. So, and you're not going to do, it's your business?
I'm a general contractor, so
Okay.
I own a lot of.
But it's a glass, you said it's a
I
glass?
own the glass company as well.
You own the
yes.
glass company.
And then next door is my wife's charity. Project Maryland is at 6640. So my wife is next door. Then the glass company is run by a partner of mine.
No problem here. I'm in full support.
Okay, all right, so no more questions on the commissioners? Entertain a motion, or well, I can do it? I can
All
do
right,
it?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve UC 20125.
Did you
We're
wanna-
taking out number 11.
Motion on the floor?
Wait a minute.
What?
Did you read? Are we on 15?
Yeah, I'm noticing
Oh,
that
I'm
now.
sorry. Oh, I have the,
We're
okay.
showing that we're voting on number 13, which was actually just previously approved.
Okay.
So this should be 15.
Yeah,
NCC 200188.
okay.
You were reading your screen and it was
Yes, I was.
It was wrong.
There we go. Okay, I make a motion to approve NZC 200188 NGS reps.
Deleting waiver developments number 11.
Right.
You're withdrawing that.
I think staff recommended withdrawing it. That's,
Okay,
I
we're
don't know
done.
what it is off the top of my head, but we'll work with it.
That's
The offsite, okay.
Motion on the floor. That motion carries. Good luck.
You guys have a good night. Thank you.
And this item will be forwarded to the Board of County Commissioners meeting for final action on July 8th, 2020 at 9 a.m. The next final three items are companion and can be heard together, items 16, 17, and 18. Item 16, NZC 20-0196, zone change to reclassify 20.3 acres from RE zone to R2 zone. Waivers of development standards for the following: 1, increase wall height, and 2, reduce street intersection offset. Design review for a proposed single-family residential development on 20.3 acres, generally located on the west side of Buffalo Drive between Windmill Lane and Mesa Verde Lane within Spring Valley. The background is provided in your agenda. Staff has recommended approval, and we received 2 cards in support and 7 cards and 1 letter in opposition. The next item is item number 17, VS 20-0197, vacate and abandon easements of interest to Clark County located between Mesa Verde Lane and Windmill Lane and between Buffalo Drive and Miller Lane within Spring Valley. The background is provided in your agenda. Staff recommends approval, and we received 1 card in support and 1 card in opposition. And the final item, number 18, TM 20-500069, tentative map consisting of 153 lots and common lots on 20.3 acres in an R2 zone, generally located on the west side of Buffalo Drive between Windmill Lane and Mesa Verde Lane within Spring Valley. The background is provided in your agenda, and staff has recommended approval.
Thank you. Name and address for the record. Tell us about your applications.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners, Tony Sluss, address 1980 Festival Plaza Drive, here on behalf of the applicant and property owner, America West Development. First, nice to be back in front of you guys live for the first time in about 3 months. With respect to the property, you can see we've highlighted it in yellow on our aerial right here, if I can direct your attention to the overhead. There we go. You can see it's about 20 acres located on the southwest corner of Buffalo and Mesa Verde. Just a little background about this project before I get into our zone change and design review. America West purchased this property at a BLM auction. When it was purchased, it was planned public facilities, you can see down here in the green. Essentially what that means is almost any use that would come in would trigger a non-conforming zone change unless it was essentially a commercial or school use. So that means if we were doing a commercial type use or essentially any type of residential use, it would trigger a non-conforming zone change. Need to give you a little bit of history on the site and what's happened in the last year. About a year ago, we filed a non-conforming zone change to go to R3. With that design review, we were proposing actually single-family residential detached homes. It was going to be our 3-story rooftop deck product. We were proposing 188 of those homes. We had a neighborhood meeting in June of last year. We had a good, healthy attendance, and we ended up filing the application, and ultimately we withdrew that application because of some of the neighborhood concerns with respect to that project. We took a step back, regrouped, and have now submitted the application before you. This application is again, a non-conforming zone change, but to R2 zoning, not R3. We are proposing single-family detached residential homes, 153, so 35 less than what we proposed a year ago from the 188. And then, to me, the biggest difference was that we are no longer showing or requesting the 3-story rooftop deck homes. Instead, we are proposing a mixture of 2 and 3 stories, and I'll show you elevations here shortly, but they all have a pitched roof and, most importantly, no rooftop deck option at all. So those are the things that we've done in the last year. We did have a follow-up neighborhood meeting on March 2nd, actually pre-COVID-19, when the quarantine took in place. So we did have a actual physical neighborhood meeting with neighbors. There was about 15, 20 neighbors there. We explained these changes that were made. So they did have an opportunity to see everything, not via Zoom meeting or some other type of platform like that, but rather an actual neighborhood meeting. With respect to the design itself, can see right here we are proposing our 153 lots right here. We are taking access off of Buffalo. That was actually predicated by our approval across the street, which is a R3 rooftop deck product where we were required to bring our entrance off of Buffalo, so we are providing that directly across the street. Again, during the neighborhood meetings, it was important that we do not access Mesa Verde, which we are not. We only will have an emergency access gate at the end of that street. Another couple important considerations are that we are going to be providing pedestrian access right through here, because just to the north and west of us is a large area that is potentially planned for parks, so it'll provide connectivity in that area. We appreciate staff's recommendation of approval of everything. Really, two issues that I think are left outstanding that I want to briefly address with you. First, this is a zone change to R2. R2, we comply with all the development standards with that, meaning we're meeting all the minimum size of the lot size, all of the setbacks, and the height limitations on that. What this board has consistently held is, though, a policy that when you go to R2 to have 4,000 square foot lots. This right here is save and except for 4 lots. Lots 29, 30, 31, and lot 43 are all less than that 4,000 square foot lot that this board usually has imposed as a policy moving forward. So we have, as you can see, 95% of our lots are less than that 4,000 square feet. In this case, though, I think we have some compelling reasons for that. And I go back to our zoning map right here. When you look at this intersection, this is Windmill and Buffalo right here, 2 100-foot right-of-ways. What this map ultimately will show in conjunction with our master plan map is that our proposed use, our proposed density is still the least intense and least dense that would be on the corner. What you have on this corner, which would be the northeast corner of Windmill and Buffalo, is planned for commercial neighborhoods, so you can have potentially even a C-store located there. On the opposite corner, the southwest corner, you have actually an approved C-store or convenience store with gas pumps that's already zoned C1. On the opposite corner, or the southeast corner of Buffalo and Windmill, you can see that is zoned R3 with a developed R3 or developing R3 immediately adjacent to that. Directly across the street from us is our approved R3 product, and then just farther north is R3. So you can see that our R2 zoning is actually a less dense, less intense use than anything on this corner, albeit we are asking for the ability to go under that policy that this board usually does go with respect to the 4,000. So that's why we think in this case there is some unique circumstances. I know you guys judge every case on its merits, case by case, and I think this is one of those exceptions worth considering with respect to some deviation from that policy of 4,000 square foot minimum lots. The second issue that I know has been raised is with respect to internally what we have right here on our streets. We have essentially 3 internal streets here that are approximately 1,000 feet long. There's been some discussion about the length of those streets and whether articulation can be integrated into that. So a couple things with respect to that. First, with respect to kind of having articulation from the street frontage, one of the things important to note about this development is that we have 3 different floor plans with 5 different type of elevations. And what that allows us to do is each housing product has a different length in square footage, range from 52 to 53 to 55 feet in length. And what that will allow us to do is to vary those setbacks on our property here without infringing or triggering a waiver for reducing our setback, rear setback, or front setbacks. So that'll help at least from the street frontage, providing a different look and getting rid of that monolithic look. The second thing, more directly to address some of those issues with respect to having a 1,000-foot street, is we can put some small speed humps, maybe 2 on each street, and we'd be working with, we can work with planning and public works as this moves up to BCC on the exact placement of those 2 speed humps, but we would put 2 on Texas Hill Street, 2 on Tierra Barossa, and 2 on Adadel Hills Street to help kind of mitigate the traffic traffic concerns through there. We also looked at alternative designs to still achieve the same number of homes, looking at potentially doing cul-de-sac lots. What we found was that in order to get the 153 units, which we do need, because remember we're coming from a spot where we have reduced 35 lots, so it is important for us to try to keep the 153. That if we do that, we're at jeopardy of losing open space to sacrifice that. So as our plan right now has, we have large, usable, programmable open space. Right here as you come into the main area, it's just shy of 21,000 feet. We can do something nice there. We can provide an amenity internal to this. And then we have just over 6,000 square feet here. It's about a 33 by 184 foot wide swath. Again, walkways and some type of usable space we can do. And then finally, as I mentioned, we have pedestrian connectivity or pedestrian gate that'll lead out here to hopefully an eventual park. So we've tried to tie all these elements in. It's a balancing act, as you guys know, trying to satisfy a lot of the neighbors' concerns, which I believe we have done essentially 90% of that. Namely, we've reduced the zoning from R3 to R2, the total unit count from 188 to 153, removed the 3-story rooftop deck product with a mixture of 2 and 3 stories, pitched roof, no rooftop decks. So we've achieved all of that. The final balancing act is basically, how can we still achieve some of the lot sizes that we need to make the density work. And like I pointed out, we think we have a unique set of circumstances where still on this corner, we would still be the less dense, less intense use. And finally, we can vary setbacks and add some speed humps to minimize some of the other effects that would go through here. We appreciate staff's recommendation on everything with respect to the zone change. We have a vacation of some patent easements that surround it, and then the tentative map that matches. And I did promise to show you some of our elevations. As I mentioned, they are 2 and 3 stories. Again, as you will note, they are pitched roofs, so there is no ability for us to do that that rooftop deck. So with that, more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. I'll open this application up for a public hearing and see if there's any, okay, no emails, no WebEx, and then, so we will close the public hearing and open up for the commissioners. Commissioner Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tony, everybody knows that I'm the the biggest proponent for 4,000 square foot lots. And given that you've promised me some speed bumps, you've got green area in there, you've got the pedestrian access, you've got R3 across the street. I'm not happy with the lot sizes, but I can approve it based upon the fact that just you've got the R3 right across the way. Your average lot size is 3,500 square foot. Not happy about it, but I'm gonna approve it.
All right, Commissioner Stone?
If I could talk to our Public Works staff, and I sort of recoil a little bit when we design at the podium in absolutes, and so I think I heard the applicant talk about traffic calming on the long streets is defined as being, these traffic humps. And Commissioner Kirk and I were discussing offline that, I'm not exactly sure that a traffic speed bump or similar type item is actually approved officially. So I might be more interested in if there was an inclination to approve it, to maybe use a different word and use the word traffic calming measures as would be approved by the Director of Public Works. There's a number of different types of traffic calming measures like rumble strips, concrete stamped patterns in road that cause a driver to go, there's a little bit of vibration that'll slow people down. So I would maybe offer that as a suggestion because speed bumps sometimes actually can be a little more dangerous to a speeding driver that doesn't see them. They'll tend to launch, or kids tend to like to use them as jumps on their bikes. So whoever makes a motion, I might suggest traffic calming measures at the direction of our Public Works group, is that possible?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thanks.
Okay, Commissioner Kirk?
Thank you. First question I have is the signal light. Will you guys participate in the signal light at Buffalo and Windmill when it comes?
Yes, we actually have we own this. Let me actually get my aerial here so I can give it better. This is us, right? This is America West Development. If I can, yeah, right here. We are also this R3 right here. We have this property and this property. So to answer your question, we are going to be significant contributors to signalization.
When's that coming? When's the light coming?
That'll be dependent on our traffic studies and when the warrants, not necessarily our control, but
even on Google Earth with the current configuration out there are cars backing up. So I think it would be nice if you guys would accelerate that. I think that'll help your development too. Second question I have for you is if you could remove that, Tony. Yes. The sidewalks, I'm a little puzzled where the sidewalks are inside the development. It looks like on one of the that street, you've got them on the front of the house, and then they also go behind the house, right?
Right.
And then on the other, that street, you've got them in the front of one house and not on the other side. Why do you guys put sidewalks on the back of the houses there rather than the front?
So I've never been asked that question. I'm not sure why the design of that is, but we do only one sidewalk on one side of the street because it is a private street there. Right. So we have it just to continue the pattern around it. I don't really know.
Okay, that's okay.
Any particular reason for you?
I'd like to see, personally, I like to see sidewalks all the way around. And I think, I know it's a small lot, private streets, all that. seemed like sidewalks would make more sense to me in front of the house versus in the rear on that street, whatever the name of that is. I don't know what it is. I can't read it.
That's this right here is
Yep.
Tierra
Correct.
Barossa.
And the same on, well, and then, anyway, I like to see sidewalks in neighborhoods. I think it promotes a little more neighborhood connectivity throughout the neighborhood. So that's just a comment. I'm not a fan of the straight streets. I'm more of a fan of the curvilinear way of doing it to break it up, make it a little more pleasing. I realize when you look in Google Earth, you see a lot of developments around there just have big old long straight streets. And it's just because we've done that in the past, I don't think we should keep doing that. I wish this was developed and designed differently because I've thought about it since we had our briefing, and I really don't like it, frankly. And then I asked you in the briefing, I'm not quite sure whether I heard your answer, I'm sure you answered me, but the area that is 184 by 33, the green space, is that an easement or what?
No, it'll be open space green area. Basically what it will do is provide connectivity from this street through here to get to the park as opposed to walking around.
So what you're saying to me is, out of the goodness of your heart, the developer decided to give us an open space? Really?
Well,
it's great.
Yes, and you know what? We're not even required to under R2, and we did it anyway. So absolutely, we're trying to incorporate some more things that we learned through the process.
And let me just tell you, I've seen developments where they show a park like you've got right inside the development there. On the map, they show a park. You go to the development, the residential sales office, they say, oh, that's going to be a park. You go back 2 months later, it's a swing, a slide, and a bunch of rock. And it's awful. It's pathetic. So I hope you guys will design something in there that people will actually use. And I don't know how in the world you're going to make anything programmable on a 184 by 33 square or rectangular piece of property there. I think you have a little more opportunity on the larger piece that's right inside the development. But I'm not a fan, but it is what it is. And like I said, I'd like to see curvilinear streets. I'm not a fan of speed bumps or speed humps or whatever you want to call them. I don't like them. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wynn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just want to put this on record since I discussed this with the applicant when we met. And I just want to, reiterate that. And then we also have some other folks in the room that I want them to hear this too. Is that, I'm not necessarily opposed on the lot size. I'm okay with the lot size. But, being the new guy here, I'm just starting to now see what my other commissioners are talking about. Things are starting to be a little bit more cookie cutter, and it's kind of boxy, and it's kind of this might be a controversial word, but boring. And the products, I think I've been inside those products in some of the other communities across the valley in the Southwest, and I'm okay with the products, but the design, just looking at this place and just like what Commissioner Kirk and Stone already said, that just looking at the surrounding areas and how folks are building, and you see this project, I'm just not excited about it. It's okay, and I'll support Commissioner Morley's motion to get it through. So I would support the project, but I just want to really put it out there for the powers that be that when you come to us next, give us something that's not so boxy and very, very plain, and you had some opposition from folks, and the other side of the density issues that people always have a hard time with is because it looks so cookie cutter, right? And we want to have some sort of way for us to be excited about the project. Because we're going to look at those neighbors and go, yeah, we heard you about density, but yeah, we're okay with that. And I just think we can do better. So, so the power in the room, if you could look at, your future projects coming back to us and be a bit more creative with what you are proposing, just because I would support it, but I'm really not excited about it.
Thank you, Commissioner Tagliaferri.
I agree with everybody. The part that I really dislike about this project is, I have said many times that I don't like lot sizes that are under 4,000. The reason that I don't is because I've seen too many of them. I know what happens when people are too crowded together. This one has the added problem of being, as Commissioner Wynn said, it's just so linear all the way through. And so basically what it says to me is that nobody really cared about this project. It was just, I could have drawn this up. And I'm a terrible drawer. There's no imagination to it, and you're forcing people to live on top of each other. I understand that we all have to make money, but that's all that there is going on this one. And the people that are going to be living in there are not going to be well served by this project. I would like to make a suggestion on the one open space. I've seen several of them that are like that, and the other one. And what they did was they put an arbor on either end and put like a meandering trail through the middle, because there's nothing else you can really do with that. But the connectivity is what you're going for. I can see that. So if you do something that has a little bit of, I don't have a lot of hope for that, because I don't see that there's any care in this project. This is something that was just drawn up in the dirt, basically. So I agree with Commissioner Kurt. I hope that there's something that you do with the other open space that is a real open space, and not just, often we just get hey, we did it. And that's basically what the name of the park is. Hey, we did it. So, I'm hoping that the next, I'm just one vote here, and I'm hoping that the next project that you put together, I know that this company has a better imagination than this, and I expect better from them.
Thank you. I will just make my comment for the record that I definitely can support the application. Appreciate the applicant going back to the drawing board and reducing the lots on the property. I can't completely disagree with my other commissioners. Of course, we'd like to see some different streets instead of straight lines. I definitely can support the application. I understand the challenges with this piece of property up against some commercial there, and then with the properties adjacent, looks like to the north and to the south, all being similar lot sizes. I'm fine with the application, and I won't disagree with the other commissioners. Maybe a little more imagination in the future, but it's okay for me. So having said that, Commissioner Morley, you want to make a motion?
Sure. Now that everybody's chewed on Tony for a little bit, I do think it lacks creativity. I'm not happy about the lot sizes. I will ask that there's traffic calming in place, whether it be rumble strip, whether it be pavers, whether it be stamped concrete, 2 on each street. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve item 16 and 17. And here we go.
And 18.
On 18.
All right, motion on the floor. That motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you, and we will continue to try to learn and incorporate as we did with our open space, so thank you.
All three items will be forwarded to the Board of County Commissioners meeting for final action on July 8th, 2020 at 9 a.m. And the final item is for public comment.
So here's our last item of the evening, which is public comments. So I'll open this up for public comments. Nobody on WebEx and nobody on email, so we'll close public comments and adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everyone.